Welcome to the RIZIN Report. I'm Jay Wolf with all the latest updates and exclusive scoops. Stay tuned.
All right, this is Todd Atkins, and I'm back with an old guest, Jay Wolf, and this is going to be a new series specifically dedicated to him. Feels a little bit easier to use one guest than we did for some Japan MMA beat where we had like 5-6 people. Easier to schedule one person, so this is going to be Jay Wolf series. It's going to be the RIZIN Report, and I want to just kind of let you introduce yourself and why I chose you for this project.
Oh, thanks, brother. I really appreciate it, Todd. This is so fantastic. I'm so excited to do this show with you. And just a little bit of background, I'm Jay Wolf one, super long time fan of mixed martial arts, going all the way back to the Almighty Pride FC days. And you guys have known me for a long time, known Todd for a long time, and we've done shows together. The Japan MMA beat, all that good stuff. So just got a lot of experience with you and just I love the Epic Ryzen. I love it. I love Japanese MMA, and because of the Superior Ruleset, I absolutely love it's my absolute favorite. I love it, and also what I call the Superior format, which is where they do Grand Prix with one night Grand Prix finals where they have them fight multiple times in one night. I love it. It's my absolute favorite. So. That's why Todd had me come on the show here to talk with you guys. And I feel like can we call it like like the State of the Union, but since it's RIZIN Fighting Federation, let's call it like the State of the Federation and give you guys like a general like overview of what's going on in the state of Japanese MMA, and also give a little review of the most recent shows that have been happening, and maybe a little preview of what's going to happen in the future here of what we know so far. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. And thank you so much, Todd, for having me on this show again. It's just, man, I'm so excited. It's going to be awesome.
Now, for people that are kind of, I don't want to say clueless, I don't want to be mean to people, but maybe people aren't familiar with the Superior Ruleset, if you could help them understand this rule set and
Oh,
why it is better for MMA.
yes. The Superior Ruleset is what I like to call I guess would be the Almighty Pride FC rules, where you can kick, stomp, and knee a grounded opponent. All the moves that are illegal in the UFC are legal under the Superior Ruleset. Of course, except, groin strikes, eye pokes, and biting, stuff like that, and headbutts. That's not allowed, but the grounded strikes, kicks, kicks, grounded knees, and my personal favorite, stomps. Stomps to the head. Flying stomps is my personal favorite strike. I think it's the most exciting strike in mixed martial arts. And that is 100% legal under the Superior Rule Set, which is why we call it the Superior Rule Set, because it's real MMA. It's not watered down, ultimate wrestling, unified rules, which I like to call the pussified rules. It's the Superior Rule Set is superior. That's why it's called that. It's just, and if you've seen any of the Epic Ryzen shows, you'll know. And especially if you're an old school fan of Almighty Pride FC, the fights are just so much better. It's incredible. And the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation has like an upgraded Superior Rule Set from Almighty Pride FC, because RIZIN allows all elbows. 12 to 6 is included. I know that's just got legalized, but that has always been included in the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation. So they have the Superior Rule Set of Almighty Pride FC rules with grounded strikes and all elbows, which Pride FC did not have. So it's the complete Superior Rule Set. It's just so much fun, and I highly recommend you guys all tune in. And you go to RIZIN.TV. That's where you can watch all the RIZIN shows. And this year they're having an event, one event a month this year. So the subscription is totally worth it. I highly recommend it. It's like 15 or 16 bucks USD, and you get access to every single event. You get access to their archive, and it's just trust me, just get the subscription at RIZIN.TV. You will not be disappointed this year.
Yeah, one thing I think that's hurt the UFC is they say they don't want to have too much grappling, but they took all the weapons away that striking weapons that grapple, especially wrestlers, could use on the ground. The knees to the head being the biggest one, and
Oh,
that's why I think
100%.
you see them kind of. We have a lot of fights go the distance because they're getting the takedowns, they're getting these positions, but they don't really have a really powerful fin. Besides punches and elbows, really the most devastating one is the knee to the head. You know, there's no point in passing guard or getting to north south because you can't use these positions.
Absolutely. And if you notice, sometimes some fans are, well, they'll get in a position where they're on their knees with their hands forward, with their head down, and the guy on top is just like swinging with his punches, and you'll see fans just yelling at them, this is why grounded knees should be legal
Mm-hmm.
because they get in these positions, and if they had grounded knees legal, then it'd be more exciting fight. They wouldn't be able to stall in that grounded position. I mean, I know they just updated their rules where you can't just have one finger down and that counts as grounded now. You have to have like a forearm or one knee down. But even that, you as you see, guys are using that to stall and to stall out the action. And but you don't get any of that in the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation on the Superior Rule Set because the action just flows so beautifully. I mean, you guys got to see it to believe it. It is so fun and just I cannot recommend it enough. And Todd, you're absolutely right on. It just adds so much to the striker's repertoire, and like you cannot just spam takedown after takedown. You can't just sit there and hold them up against the fence and do wall install. And Ryzen does have they utilize the ring and the cage as well. So, but you can't just sit there and spam takedowns because if they sprawl out, you're going to be eating knees to the face. You're going to be eating knees to the face and possibly getting grounded kick to the face. And we just seen something like this happen at RIZIN 52 that just happened in March. That was where who I like to call the RIZIN Prince, Kiyomo Akimoto, just defeated Patchy Mix with grounded strikes. As you saw, he was taking, I don't know if he was really ready for that. And he was getting eaten knees to the face and grounded kicks, and that's how they stopped it. And one of those sequences happened when he shot for a takedown and Kyomo, he sprawled. Akimoto sprawled and then started hitting him lighting him up with grounded knees and grounded kicks, and really and busted up Mix's nose and everything. It was sensational. You guys got to go watch that fight. Kiyoma Akimoto versus Patchy Mix at RIZIN 52. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later, but man, it was just so great to see the Superior Rule Set decide. It was a genuine Superior Rule Set finish, and there was some sensational Superior Rule Set action in that fight that just exemplifies everything we're talking about right here. So I highly recommend go check that fight out.
Yeah,
To
that
get
was the first fight I was
primer.
going to go to because I usually like to go from the top to the bottom, or
Oh, okay.
or cover like the most maybe three or four significant fights. So Akimoto, let's talk a little bit more about him for kind of give fans kind of a rundown of him.
Yeah, he's who I like to call the Epic Ryzen Prince because he is clearly their rising up and coming star. And now it just I mean, this mixed fight just absolutely, I mean, it's rocketed his popularity up like a rocket ship to the moon already. And people are already calling for him to get a title shot against the monster Shadalaev. But I don't know if he's ready for that yet. I'm sure they're going to have a couple more fights before that because the kid is he's barely, what, did he just turn like 20? Right? He's
Mm-hmm.
he's a young gun. He's a true young gun. And he's already really good. And when he debuted as a teenager, his very first Ryzen fight, he scored a win by grounded knees. And that just burst him onto the scene with everybody. And that's where I called him, the Epic Ryzen Prince is from that initial performance. And he's just been slowly getting better and better each performance and just taking on better and better competition. And, and the kid is barely now 20 years old and he's already, he's within a title shot, within one or two fights. I got to say, I mean, I know online they were talking about one of the other superstars in Japan, Ren Hiramoto, kickboxing crossover, the current Ryzen Last Man Standing Championship, and Last Man Standing is like the UFC's BMF belt. that is what Ryzen's last man standing belt is. The last man standing is like a separate type of, it's basically supposed to be unlimited rounds. So that to win that title, you got to get into a fight, and it's unlimited rounds. You go until there's a winner, until someone gets finished or quits or taps out. And that's the current last man standing champion right now is Ren Hiramoto. And they've been just having words with um, Yoma Akimoto, the Rising Prince. And it looks like that fight might be next, although we don't know for sure. There's plenty of other matchups out there. There's, Rizin's got some very that the featherweight division in the Epic Rising is arguably one of their strongest divisions, if not the strongest division, because the champion, Razabali Shadalayev, is an absolute monster. He's uh, um there's several websites that have like Combat Sports Today News says he is the best featherweight outside of the UFC. He's I think he's top five on Fight Matrix among UFC fighters, and just I mean he's an incredible fighter. Our good friend Jay Krish of Focus Fights, he calls him the steamroller Shadalaya, because the guy just goes out there and steamrolls people, and just I don't think I think one person has made it out of the first round with them, and that's the guy that he's facing next up here in Landmark 13. Landmark, which is Ryzen's Cage series. That's coming up April 12th here. And but that Shadalayev is an absolute monster, and Kiyomo is going to be, I mean, if they do the Hiramoto fight, I believe after that it's either going to be Shadalayev or maybe one more fight. We got some other good ones in Ryzen. Um, Kershaw Doubtback. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's also another fantastic fighter. A lot of fans like him. So maybe they do that. That was supposed to be a matchup already, but Doubtback got injured or something, so they had to move it. That's why Kiyomo at on New Year's took a different short notice fight, and then that's when he's won that one on New Year's, and then he got the mixed fight. So I don't know, I don't know exactly how they're gonna go, but it's looking like they're gonna do Ren Hiramoto for the last man standing title, and then possibly Shot Alive afterwards for the actual featherweight title. So this kid Kyomo Akimoto is, like I said, I dubbed him the Rising Prince, and he's just, man, he's their next superstar. He's their next superstar, and he's only 20 years old, a true young gun, budding superstar. And I can't wait for you guys to see him. Like Todd and I were saying, you got to go check out that mixed fight. Just an unreal performance by this kid. Just really, and it was like that was his birthday weekend too. He was 19 years old taking on. He can't even drink yet. He was still a teenager, and he's destroying a seasoned veteran like Patchy Mix in just sensational fashion. So just I can't speak, dude. I could go on and on for hours. I mean, I'm really high on this kid, and I cannot wait to see what the future has in store for him. He's a really good fighter. Just I'm expecting him. I don't know if he can, beat Shadalayev right now, but I mean, like I said, he's only 20 years old. There's plenty of time, plenty of room for him to grow, plenty of time for him to grow into, especially when he starts filling out into a man, getting his man strength and everything. Man, he's going to be a problem. He's definitely, I definitely see him being a champion in the future, 100%.
Yeah, and that Japan top team, they're putting out a lot of guys. He's the Asakura brothers and him and Nori and some other guys. They've had a lot of success in Ryzen.
Yeah, it's a great team, absolutely great team. And the Azakura brothers, the UFC fans will know his brother Kai Azakura that is in the UFC right now, and Kai Azakura got an instant title shot in the UFC. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody else getting that, especially in this modern era. So it just shows you how highly the UFC rates the Epic Rising Fighting Federation fighters, and that's probably because of guys like Manel Cape and of course our favorite Jiri Prochazka. That they were Epic Rising Fighting Federation fighters, and Jerry was the Grand Prix champion, and just man, you guys already know he went into the UFC, and just he's arguably their most exciting fighter in the UFC right now, and former champion, all that good stuff, and he's from the Epic Rising. That's where he's from. And so I just think that that contributed to like Dana White and the Zuffa people, TKO people saying, you know what, this organization over there, it's the Almighty Pride FC 2.0, or it's butting into it at least. Like I think that we're already at Almighty Pride FC Bushido level. Remember the Bushido events,
Hmm.
Todd?
Sure,
Those
I
are the
went to
ones
many of
where
them.
it,
Yeah.
yes, those were the ones where they were the lighter weight divisions, right? And they showcased the lighter weight divisions with a couple heavier divisions, which is exactly what Ryzen is doing right now. And Ryzen is selling out, 40,000 seats here, 30,000. They consistently get over 20,000 people into the arena, which is like an NBA game here in America. And I think their most that they got was like was 50,000, 40 over 45,000, something like that for a New Year's Eve show. I forget what it was exactly, but it might have been 48,000. But anyways, it's right there around 50,000, and just they're selling out massive arenas, and just it's just, man, I can go on for hours about this though. I just love it so much. But yeah, I'm gonna call them Pride Bushido 2.0 already, and just the UFC has massive respect for him already because of the fighters they've already brought over to him. And like Todd was saying with the Azakura brothers, Kai is already there, but his brother Mikuru Azakura is arguably the most popular fighter in Japan. He's an absolute superstar, and it's him, Ren Hiramoto, who Kiyomo might be facing next, and those guys, and the other guys like Hagiwara. Just they got some real, and also Kazushi Sakuraba, his son Sakuraba Jr. Did I say Sakuraba? He is also a budding star for them as well. So I mean, the future is very bright over in Ryzen. And like Todd was saying, that Japanese top team with the Azakura brothers, and they got Kiyomo Akimoto, Ryzen Prince in there. I mean, it's just big things are happening over there, man. Big things are happening, and this year especially, Todd. Man, I cannot wait. You know how we were talking, Todd, on the other shows, the Japanese MMA beat shows that we've done before, and you were
Hmm.
always saying how you wanted to see them bring in international guys, just like the Almighty Pride FC did, to match them up and with the homegrown talent over in Japan, and that would really bring the popularity back to how it was in Pride. Well, I think Sakakibara-san, the CEO of Epic Rising, Sakakibara-san, he listened to us because this year's theme of 2026 is World War. So he wants to have the Japan's best face the best of the world. That's why he's bringing in guys like Patchy Mix. That's why he's bringing guys like the current bantamweight champion of Ryzen right now is Danny Sabatello, and he's also brought in other guys like Gallagher and Tony Laramie. The UFC fans might recognize that's Laramie's brother, and he's a flyweight. And we got a bunch of international guys. They're supposed to be bringing more international guys in for this year, and that's going to be the theme of this year. They're also going to do World Series events, which is their international events. They're scheduled having one for Korea for sure, and then the other rumored one that they said they wanted, their goal is America. So there's probably going to be a Hawaii event that was rumored. So that really looking forward to seeing how that's going to go. And they're supposed to be doing collaborations with PFL, and who I'm hoping that they do collaboration with Combate Global, because Combate, and one of the things that the Epic Rising has that nobody else has is the female atom weight division, 105 pounds, 105, 110 pounds. Only Epic Rising has that, and then over here stateside is only Invicta Fighting Championships, all female league, and Combate Global. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them do some collaboration with Combate Global, either sending fighters over or Combate Global sending fighters over to Japan, which they've done in the past. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing how that's going to play out this year, because I love that theme of just like Todd, you were talking about this earlier on other earlier shows about how you wanted to see international guys come in. We've been harping on this for years, it seems like, and they're finally, before the pandemic, they had them, but then after the pandemic, it was more like Japanese centric shows, and now they're finally bringing in international guys, and I'm so happy about it, man. It's just, and we already seen with this RIZIN 52 event that just happened. Man, it just already paying dividends. I can't wait to see the what the future's going to hold this year.
Yeah, now getting to Sakuraga's thing because I know you brought that up. Like he didn't get a win this time out. Maybe talk about you know he lost this fight. So
Yeah, what wasn't that the
in the
co-main event?
co-main event, yeah,
Yeah, it was Sakuraba versus Luis Killer Gustavo, who is Wanderlei Silva's protege. And it was so great seeing the Ryzen Epic Ryzen the VTRs, the video intros and stuff. They're bringing up about how in Ryzen in Almighty Pride FC, or there's a rivalry between Wanderlei Silva and Sakuraba. And now this one in Ryzen 52 in the modern era, it's Sakuraba's son versus Wanderlei Silva's protege. And it was so cool to see that how they were linking it to the past and how this is like the future right here. And just, man, it was great. And it was such a great fight. And, Sako Jr. got brutally knocked out, but he's a young gun as well. So, he's going to bounce back from that. And Luis Killer Gustavo is one of their best international guys. And he's one of their Silva's protege. So, title challenger, all that good stuff. So, it was kind of a big step up for Sako Jr. So he has plenty of room to bounce back, but it was a great fight. It was so exciting, and it made even more so. I want to bring up to you guys. There's a Discord server, the Ryzen FF Fans Discord server, and we have a free fantasy league going right now. And I had gotten Luis Killer Gustavo on my fantasy roster, and then one of my bros had Sako Jr., of course, and so it just added an extra layer of fun to these fights and made it even more fun than it already was. And so yeah, everybody go join the Ryzen FF Fans Discord and join that. It's a free fantasy league, and it just adds an extra layer of fun to the fights. And but this bout with Sako Jr. versus Gustavo, man, it was so much. It was so great because it was so much nostalgia. Luis Killer Gustavo came out to Wanderlei Silva's, Darude Sandstorm song, right? The techno song that Wanderlei Silva would always enter to, and then Saku Jr. He entered to his dad Sakuraba's classic techno song as well. And so it just, man, just nostalgia overload, and it just was, man, it was so fun. It was so fun. So I highly recommend going to watch that too. Get that subscription on Ryzen.tv, and then you can rewatch all the events, and you'll see what we're talking about here.
now another fight I wanted to kind of jump around a little bit because I had some interest in this one, which is Yuki Ito versus Carlos Mota.
Oh yeah,
I've
yeah,
had Mota on my show a few times. Francisco Bueno's coach is a good friend of mine. Um, Ito ended up stopping him. Really
yeah, in
interesting
brutal
fight.
fashion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought Mota was doing well early, and then caught the kick in the head.
yeah. As he was trying to showboat a little bit, trying to say like, oh, it didn't get me, and then he got it, and he got knocked him out. But man,
Yeah.
that was so. I was really I wanted Mota to win so bad because I'm sure you know he was talking beforehand. He was the current Knockout Unlimited champion. Knockout is a promotion that's mostly kickboxing, but they have this um, series called Unlimited bouts where basically it's kickboxing, but ground and pound is allowed, and superior rule set ground and pound is allowed. You just can't grapple and go for submissions. So it's like kickboxing, but if you knock them down, there's no like knockdown rule. You can fall them to the ground and do ground and pound to finish the fight. So that's what the Knockout Unlimited rules are. And Carlos Mota is the current Knockout Unlimited champion right now. And in the lead up to this fight at RIZIN 52, Mota was talking about how he loves Superior Rule Set, how it's in his soul, he can feel it in his soul and everything. It just music to my ears. So I was really looking forward to seeing how he was going to do at Ryzen, because he knows the assignment. What we're talking about knowing the assignment is we want to see Superior Rule Set action, and Carlos Mota was clearly going to bring that. But credit to Ito, he got him. He got him fair and square, man. I mean, it was a good striking battle to start out with, and then Mota just kind of showboated just a little bit after getting uh, a flurry happened to where he kind of got landed on a little bit, and he wanted to do like a sort of like showboating smile, saying like, "Oh, that didn't hurt or anything." But when he did that, he left himself open, and he got hit with a high kick. And credit to Ito, man, for taking advantage of that, and Ito followed him to the ground and finished it, and just man. But I seriously hope they bring Mota back. I'm sure you like him as well, Todd. I mean, he's just I'm excited to see that fighter as well again.
Yeah, I think he's really talented. I think the fights that he's lost, I think he lost to Charles Johnson, I think it was, who fights in the UFC.
Yeah,
He's beat the champion in the UFC, Joshua Van. Charles Johnson has.
yeah.
So
Charles
he's a
Energy Johnson.
yeah, he's tough. He's beat a lot of really good fighters, and he had a great fight with Carlos in LFA. I think he finished it in maybe the fourth round.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Carlos
so
has
Carlos
big
has
experience.
had the fights he's had where he lost were, the only other one was in the UFC against forgot that wrestler that kind of he got taken down a little bit for the
Oh, dude,
um forgot
I
his
can't
name,
really.
but
I
yeah,
can't pull it up right now. I got
that
my.
one was kind of just a 3 round decision. But the other two, where he lost to Charles Johnson in this fight, um, he's really talented in my opinion. That there's a reason he became knockout champion because he is talented. One thing I have noticed about the Japanese lately that I don't see a lot of people talking about is they seem to be having a lot of success in the striking area across all combat sports, not just MMA, but boxing, obviously. One, a lot of their guys, one has some guys that are doing really well against the Thais, Japanese kickboxers that are doing,
Yeah, they're
and then
one's gonna have the
yeah,
samurai show coming up here soon,
yeah,
and you can have a. Yeah, go. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Let me cut you
they have
off.
some incredible Japanese fighters fighting in stand-up fights that are throttling people. And then, you had these fights here where, guys have had success. It seems that they're, for some reason, that seems to be before, in my day, our day maybe, I would say what Japanese fighters had an upper hand in was they were a little bit more well rounded before other fighters were. But now it seems like they've kind of honed in on the striking aspect pretty well across all combat sports. Like I was saying, the boxers are doing well.
Yeah, the monster Inoue.
The kickboxers are doing well, and now you got guys in MMA and RIZIN that are doing well with stand-up fighting. So it seems to be something that, for some reason, they're zeroing in on. Well,
Yeah, it does
I
seem
don't know
that
why that is, but
maybe it's
yeah.
just they're finally evolving with their training or something. I don't know. It maybe they're just getting more experience nowadays. I mean,
They're
there's a
lasering in on that aspect. Before they were more known for their grappling, especially their
yeah,
leg locks.
yeah,
Their
like a
leg locks were
judo.
highly advanced before everyone else was in leg locks and, judo and all that. But they're
Yes.
really known for being really good grapplers back when, like I said, in our kind of era. We're still watching, but in the era where it was big, that's really what they were known for. It wasn't necessarily their stand up fighting. And now it's
Yeah,
kind of flipped on its head a little bit.
yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with, the K1 kickboxing is coming back as well this year, and a lot of their guys, like the lighter weight divisions, there's some really good J kick fighters is what they're called, and you're gonna see that at One Samurai
Yeah, they did
later
have
this week.
some. You're right. In K1, Max Masato obviously was amazing. Um,
Yeah, yeah, and
Koji Takeda. They had some. Oh, Takeda Kozo. I'm sorry. He was a really good kickboxer, Japanese kickboxer. They had several.
and Ryzen
Um,
is having a lot of kickboxing crossovers now.
yeah.
Like one of their former champions, Chihiro Suzuki, is a current knockout champion as well. So he's a kickboxing and he was a Ryzen champion and a kickboxing champion in knockout at the same time. So you're right. There's a very noticeable difference from back in the old school days where it was mostly judo guys. Sakuraba was more like a wrestler, submission wrestler, and is they're more like grapplers heavy instead of known for like striking. And
Yep.
now it's like you're absolutely right, Todd. Now there's a lot of great strikers, great well-rounded guys, and just I wonder if that's because of the kickboxing culture. That's a lot of a kickboxing crossover. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. Maybe it's just guys that are just, getting more well-rounded in the gyms. Maybe since the sport is so evolved now, they're just they're training everything now, right? And maybe since there's so many good kickboxers in Japan now, they're able to get their striking on that elite level for a
Yeah,
lot of.
it's intriguing, because like I said, in boxing they're doing it too. So it's not just MMA or kickboxing, it's translating to all the different striking
Yeah,
arts.
has there ever been? I cannot remember another boxer, Japanese boxer, that's been as popular as big as the Monster Inoue.
No.
Can you remember one? No, exactly,
Mm-mm.
right? So this is like I mean, the only thing I can remember is obviously Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, but he was Filipino. So the Monster Inoue is like I mean, this is really showing you guys that the Japanese, man, they're coming up in the striking arts big time, and we're about to see at the one of the next UFCs here coming up. Um, Tierra is gonna be facing Joshua Van for the title. We possibly could have our first Japanese UFC champion in this modern era because there was some before. Sakuraba was one of the original UFC champions, but they don't count that in this modern era. So Tara would be the first Japanese champion of this modern era, and then also right in the is Kyoji Horiguchi right there on his heels. So if Tara can't get it done against Van, then possibly Horiguchi's going to get it done, and then we could have a Japanese UFC champion. And just you're absolutely right, Todd. They're just in this modern era, they're really coming up in all the different the striking arts and just well-rounded guys, and it's really an exciting time. And it's specifically for the lighter weight divisions, though. The heavier divisions is still, but that's across the board. If you notice, the heavier divisions have really been, I don't want to say, like they just haven't been as good as they were back in the day, right? I mean, back in the golden era in the mid 2000s, when Almighty Pride FC was rocking, selling out 60,000, seat stadiums on the regular, that that heavyweight era, with the GOAT Fader, Minotaur Nogueira, Crow Cop in his prime, Mark Hunt in his prime, all these absolute legends. And then when Bob Sapp, was a massive, actually trying and just I mean that era was and there was guys coming up like We're Doom and I mean all these guys that were an Almighty Pride FC. And yes, look it up, UFC fans. We're Doom was an Almighty Pride FC fighter first before becoming UFC champion. And just I mean, but that era of heavyweight, I mean, that was the golden era. So it's kind of unfair to compare this modern heavyweight division with the golden era's heavyweights, but it's just true. It's not as good as the lighter weight divisions right now, and the Japanese are really, really coming up big in the lighter weight divisions right now. It's a really exciting time, and I would like them to not neglect the heavier divisions though, because it's to me right now it's wide open. I don't know how you feel about the heavier divisions, Todd, but to me, I feel like it's wide open right now. That the UFC is not. I mean, Francis Ngannou is like a free agent right now. He's fighting at MVP on the Ronda Rousey Gina Carano
Yeah.
card, right? And he's the current lineal heavyweight champion. Oh, he took the UFC belt and he went to PFL. Only had one fight, and then now he's a free agent fighting with MVP. So I mean, the heavyweight division is really like, dude, it's up for grabs. I mean, dude, it's the UFC does not have the best heavyweights right now.
No.
Also,
Hokit looks pretty good, but
yeah, I mean
outside of
they
him.
got some up and comers, but I mean
Yeah.
so does everybody. I mean,
No, I'm
and
saying outside of him, I don't see anybody who's really, you know.
yeah, well, I mean Tom Aspinall, obviously their interim
Yeah,
champion,
Aspinall, but I'm talking about underneath the
up and
champion. I'd say
comers.
I'd say Hokit is the primary one.
Yeah, yeah, Hokit is definitely one of their up and comers. And over in Ryzen, we got I don't know how it if it's still happening, but we had a fantastic heavyweight Grand Prix. A lot of people didn't like it because it didn't have as many finishes, and the competition they had was clearly trying to get a Japanese heavyweight champion, but they did have a fantastic international fighter named Alexander Soldakin, who was from the Europe scene, and he's a Russian German fighter and very well rounded, and he's the current RIZIN Heavyweight Grand Prix champion. And they brought over Ryan Bader. He was supposed to fight him on New Year's Eve, and that was going to be a really intriguing bout to see how Soldakin dealt with a good wrestler like Ryan Bader. And because Ryan Bader, of course, as you know, was the former PFL champion, former Bellator heavyweight champion. Looked obviously he was a long time light heavyweight, but when he went up to heavyweight, he looked fantastic. So that was going to be a real interesting bout to see where Sodakin was, and that might be happening later this year. So Sakaki Barasan, the CEO of Epic Rising, he was talking about how they're not going to abandon heavyweight. They're still going to plan on having a heavyweight bout this year. And I don't know, he didn't say nothing about specifics about if that's going to be Ryan Bader, Sodakin, if they're going to go forward with that, or if they're going to do Sodakin versus somebody else. I mean, they could do like KSW has some fantastic heavyweights. Octagon, the what's the Russian promotion that's signing a bunch of the former UFC guys? The is it ACA or ACB? Anyways, it was a Russian
Hmm.
promotion that's getting a lot of these former UFC guys that were in the top 10 that were being cut, and guys that were on win streaks was because they grappled too much, which is weird. I don't. The UFC was cutting guys that were not on losing streaks or anything. They were cutting guys just because they were not, getting first round finishes in the heavyweight division. And it's like, I mean, it's like, okay, if that's your guys' strategy, it's like whatever. But these guys are getting picked up by other promotions, and this Russian promotion has some, top five that was in the UFC ranked guys now, and so they're building a nice division. Then, of course, I already mentioned how Ngannou went to MVP Promotions, and dude, man, like I was telling you, the heavyweight divisions are wide open. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens this year and how they want to go forward with it. But in KSW, their champion Phil DeFries is on a fantastic streak himself. And they've been talking about collaborating with Ryzen as well. One of the heavyweights they sent over for the Grand Prix was was Merrick. Merrick Somochuk, I think his name. I can't pronounce his last name right. It's hard to pronounce, but his first name was Merrick, and he was one of the KSW top 10 heavyweights for them. And so it was like a mini collaboration for them. So, can they collaborate further in the future? Could they do Sodakin versus Phil DeFries? I know one of our friends of the show, Aisha of the City Life Project, that's what he would love to see happen because he loves Phil DeFries. So, I mean, there's so many options, and it's just, man, it's super exciting time. I know that the heavyweight's not as good in UFC, but I'm telling you guys, we can't say it's going to be as good as the golden era, but there's definitely room for it to grow into being awesome again, to being great again.
Now, maybe talk about some of your other takeaways from this Ryzen show. I know we touched on a few fights, but
Well, it was
what's
just,
something that I didn't touch on?
I mean, look, it was such a great kickoff show for the 2026 year. Dude, it had like 12 bouts total. 10 of them were finishes. 10 of them were finishes. We got superior rule set action in almost every single bout. I'm talking like grounded knees, grounded kicks, all that good stuff. Almost every single bout had it. And then it was cherried. The cherry on top was the main event between Rising Prince Akimoto and Patchy Mix with the in a superior rule set finish. Had sensational superior rule set action in the first round where it just, I mean, Akimoto just, man, it was awesome. You gotta go watch that fight. And then I guess I would just touch on that we didn't touch on right now was I guess the lighter weight divisions like flyweight. Tony Laramie, I brought him up earlier. He scored a sensational knockout, and that division is really, I mean, they, they're really picking up the action in those lighter weight divisions, man. It's hard to, I would say featherweight is their best, but every single division is really good and the flyweight division is just seems to me like it's budding into something great. And they got some other fantastic fighters in the fly division. I mean, there's one Japanese fighter, Shinryu. I don't know if he's going up to 135 or if he's going to stay at 125, but there's so many. And then it's the champion of the flyweight division right now is a guy that UFC fans might know, Hiromuto OJ Kubo, who, if you remember from the Tough, he was on the Ultimate Fighter, almost won, was a runner-up semifinalist, and he actually beat the current UFC champion in Tough. And so, I mean, that counts. That was a real fight. So, and he beat the UFC current UFC champion. So the guy is no slouch, man. He's a good fighter, and just that division has got such a bunch of killers. And Tony Laramie, like I was saying, I was so excited to see him win in spectacular fashion and score a knockout. And there's a bunch of other fighters there. Carlos Mota, wasn't he a flyweight as well, Todd?
I think he was fighting at, I think, 45.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it 45? I thought it was flyweight. But anyways, I thought the point is they got plenty of guys, and you know, and I was gonna say Ito was another one, but I guess they're at featherweight. But if I was not wrong, and they are at flyweight, Ito's another one. Shinryu, I mean, their division is very healthy in the lighter weight divisions. So it's just, but yeah, another takeaway from this event was that there were so many finishes, such a great kickoff to the 2026 year. And I just loved seeing all the international guys there. Just, I mean, this had more international fighters on it than almost any other card since before the pandemic. And the next event is they're one of their cage events. They call it the Landmark Series, is what they call their cage event series, and that is April 12th. And there's also a bunch of international fighters on there, including the bantamweight champion Danny Sabatello. James Gallagher, former Bellator fighter, is
Yeah.
going to be making his debut on there. Yeah, yeah, you guys remember him? And gosh, I'm blanking right now on some of the other ones because we're live. I should pull it up on the iPad here real quick, but it's a bunch of international guys. And the champion that I was telling you guys about, Shadalayev, he's in a kind of a showcase bout. He's facing the guy that made it to the second round with him. The only guy that's made it to the second round. They're giving him a rematch. So, I mean, I don't really like that bout, to be honest with you. I'd rather them, bring in like a PFL fighter or somebody, but whatever. We got what we got, so I'm looking forward to seeing a shot of live destruction, a shot of live steamroll, and showing shot of live to the fans that are tuning in this year. But that whole card is loaded with international guys as well. So I'm loving the theme of this year of the World War, bringing in international guys to face Japanese fighters, and just really looking for. And speaking of that weekend, Todd, there's another great Superior Ruleset promotion called Black Combat in Korea, and they have an event on the 11th. And that weekend, the April 11th and April 12th with RIZIN, there's also a K1 kickboxing event on April 11th as well. So that whole weekend is going to be, I mean, just I've been having a good time with the bros in the RIZIN FF Fans Discord server, calling it the SRE Rivalry Weekend, and that stands for Superior Ruleset Epicness SRE Rivalry Weekend, because it's going to have Black Combat. It's going to have Superior Ruleset fighting on Friday night, April 11th, and then Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation is going to have Superior Ruleset in the cage at Landmark 13 on April 12th. So it's gonna be like, who's gonna have the best Superior Ruleset action, and just, man, it's such a fun time right now. All you fans out there, you gotta start paying attention to the Japanese mixed martial arts scene and the Asian mixed martial arts scene as a whole, because it is just, man, it hasn't been this fun since the golden era. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. The golden era in the mid 2000s, when Almighty Pride FC was doing this thing, that was obviously the peak. That was peak beyond peak. But this right now is just, I'm having so much fun. And Todd, thank you for having me on this show again, brother, to talk to the fans about this. I mean, it's just right now just amazing. And I don't know if you want to, I feel like I'm going on too long and ranting too long, but if you want to add anything, I mean, it's
No,
just
not at
amazing
all.
to
Because
right now, brother.
I did want to bring back some Japanese coverage here, but I wanted to kind of streamline it a little bit to have like one person. So I think this is a little bit easier to do it this way, and to
Okay.
have to have the RIZIN report with Jay Wolf. I'm excited to have it. So
Oh,
for
me too. I
sure.
mean, this is amazing, and the graphics that you made for me are look at this. Look at that background. That is amazing. I mean, look at how just you made me look better looking than I actually do in real life with the graphics. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
the stuff you can do now is it's incredible stuff you can do that you used to have to find somebody to do it for you. I can do all the stuff myself now, and like you can take pages to a whole nother level with thumbnails and graphics and stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah, and man, it just I'm so thankful, Todd. I just want to make sure say that again, how appreciative I am of you doing this all for this show and having me on everything. It's just so great, man. And I'm trying to think of another topic to bring up. Like, can we touch a little bit more on how on the atom weight scene? Because that is a scene that is unique to Ryzen and unique to Japanese MMA. Because only the Asian MMA, only Deep has them, and one championship has them, a couple of them, but their atomweight division is actually 115 because one championship does the hydration testing for their weigh-ins, where it's like they weigh in like 10 pounds heavier than what the division is because for dehydration purposes or whatever. And so their atom weights I mean their atom weights is actually straw weight. Their straw weights are actually flyweight. So it's just weird. But anyways, they have fighters that have fought at atom weight before. And of course, Ryzen is the big one. They have Sika Izawa, Starflower, Sika, the current Ryzen Atomweight champion, who is very just the best flyweight I mean, the best atomweight in the world right now. And also, they have my personal favorite. I call her Striker Queen, but her actual name is Shootboxing Queen, Reina, Reina Kubota, and she is my absolute favorite. She is such a fantastic striker. She does. It's just so exciting, bro. And she's a beautiful woman on the outside, and she's a beautiful fighter in the cage, meaning that she goes for superior rule set strikes. She does flying stomps all the time. The best flying stomp technique that I think we've seen since Shogun Hua in Almighty Pride FC. I kid you not. That's how good I think Striker Queen Reina is. And she has also come over and fought in Bellator, and the Combate Global, who I want to talk about as well, has sent fighters over to fight Striker Queen Reina as well. And Combate Global is the only active North American promotion that has atom weights. I mean, I hope that Invicta is still around. The all-female fighting league is still around, but they haven't held an event in a long time. And they are a fantastic organization, but you got to hold events. And if they're not active right now, I don't know if I can really say. I mean, are they going to have another event eventually? But they have some fantastic atom weights on their roster, and it's them and Combate Global is active right now. They just had a fantastic atomweight fight with on February 26th on their debut show because they just debuted for they're gonna have they just moved to LA. They're gonna have a show every couple of weeks in LA, and it's just man, I love Combate Global. Their CEO Campbell McLaren, he's the original co-creator of the original UFC, so he knows what he's doing. And but anyways, to get back to the point, they're they actually have atom weights, okay, and the UFC does not have atom weights, 105 pound, 105 to 110 pounds, and they had an atom weight fighter named Janet Garcia, 5-0 Hispanic American fighter. She looked fantastic. And I immediately thought of, I'm like, man, that's a fighter I would love to see come over to Ryzen and, fight a Ryzen fighter and then possibly challenge Izawa for the title. Or have a Ryzen fighter come over to Combate Global and fight and challenge her in Combate Global's ring or cage. And, you know, also speaking of Campbell McLaren, the original co-creator of UFC and the CEO of Combate Global, if you follow his Twitter account, he was asking the Invicta Fighting Championship CEO Shannon Knapp saying, "Hey, why don't we get together? Why don't we do a collaboration? Have the Invicta fighters atomweights fight the Combate Global atomweight girls." And then also some fans, including myself, were like, "Hey, don't forget about RIZIN. RIZIN has some of the best atomweights in the world right now." And Campbell was like, "Oh yeah, definitely." It says after. I think the tweet exactly said, "After Invicta, we're coming for RIZIN too." So and they have worked, like I said, they have worked together in the past, sent fighters over, doing fighter exchanges and kind of mini collaborations type of a deal. So I am really looking forward seeing Combate Global and Ryzen work together with the atomweight division. Because, like I was saying, that Combate Global fighter, atomweight fighter, just we saw on February 26th, Janet Garcia looked fantastic. And Siki Izawa has pretty much cleared out the entire atomweight division over in Japan. So she needs good international fighters to come in there and fight. And I mean, I brought this up to Campbell after the fights, and I'm going to bring it up again when I go back to the Combate Global. Is that, hey man, we because they had I don't know if you guys remember last year, Combate Global had a um, Mexico versus Japan card, a Combate Global versus Japan card, where the current one championship girl, Sawada, was on that. Can you believe
Mhm.
that? So she was on that. I mean, so it's like, hey, they've had some big Asian MMA fighters in Combate Global, atom weights, and it's like Campbell, brother, we got to keep this going. This is a lot of fun. So I'm hoping that's going to happen this year. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen this year. And that is just I want fans to pay attention to the atomweight division because the UFC, like I said, the UFC does not have an atomweight division right now. So the best atomweights in the world are in RIZIN and Combate Global right now. Those are the two promotions that are active right now that have the best atomweights in the world. Invicta is also there. They also got in Japan. They got their one of their regional promotions called Deep Jewels is like the Invicta all-female league of Japan. They also have some good atom weights, but Sika Izawa, the rising champion, has already ran through all of those contenders. So it's I mean, Todd, it's got to be Combate Global, and I'm really excited to see that happen because it was so fun when my personal favorite striker queen Reina, when she came over to Bellator, it was so great seeing her in Bellator, even though she lost. And then also it was great seeing the Combate Global fighters being sent over to Ryzen to fight in Japan. It was just I mean, it's just so I love the cross promotional collaboration bouts. I don't know about you, Todd, but I'm sure you do because on the prior shows you've been talking about how you want to see international guys brought in. I mean, I
Yeah,
want
I
to get
mean, well, I feel like, at some point they have to do it if they want to get back to where they were.
yeah. Could you please elaborate on that? I completely agree with your theory. It's totally sound about how they got to bring in international fighters to face the Japanese stars to build like the rep.
The
Their
brand.
yes, with the international audience and that's how the stars were created in Almighty Pride FC. It was
Because I saw
international.
people on Twitter, like, there's some people, because I'm on TikTok, I look at some of the commenters, some of these people that are commentary type accounts, and I saw some of them on Twitter that are pretty popular people. And for the first time, I saw them say, like, yeah, this Rise and Rules stuff is way better than what what UFC's doing. It's like they saw it for the first time or something. They were exposed to it, and
You're
they're
talking
like,
about
"Wow,
with the
wow!"
the Patchy Mix Akimoto fight, right?
Just the rules in general. They're saying, yeah, the UFC at this point because they have so much money and everything, they have great promotion, whatever. But the rules, Ryzen has a better show from a rules standpoint. And probably really from a presentation standpoint, the way they do things, the way they've always done things, has been ahead of, their time or ahead of everybody else, in my opinion. Even when they weren't, you know, as popular. I mean, they've always had incredible production and lead-in videos and stuff. The UFC doesn't even do that stuff. It's like it's all milk toast type of. kind of
Yeah.
promotion. It's just cookie cutter. One show, the next show is going to be the same. This one's same. There's no individuality. And I think they don't want it. They want it to be that way on purpose. They don't want to do these great intro videos and stuff because they don't want the fighters to be that popular. They could be popular, but not too popular.
I don't get that.
They
I mean,
want
it's
the
like,
UFC to be popular.
yeah, but it's the fighters that make
I
the
know.
UFC popular. It's like I don't understand their thinking in that. And but you're so right on. I saw those comments too about from the main event of 52, Ryzen 52, Ryzen Prince Akimoto and Patchy Mix. Since it ended with Superior Rule Set finish, it had a fantastic Superior Rule Set sequence in the first round. Fans were talking about that, go, man, this rule set is so much better. And like, and we've been seeing that trend happen. Like our friend Aisha from the City Life Project, every time they, like we were talking about at the start of the show, when they would go to the position where they would like sit there and stall the fight on their knees, on their hands and knees, to where and just doing like head movement, right, where they were trying to avoid the punches from the guys because they couldn't get kicked or kneed in the head on the ground. And Aisha from the City Life Project, every single time without fail, I love it. He's like, this is fake MMA. Grounded strikes need to be legal. Look at this. What is this
Yeah.
shit? They're stalling the fight, and just we're seeing that more and more from the Western fans. And I mean, Aisha's a hardcore fan. He watches it all, but like the UFC fans, they're noticing it more and more. And that Rising Prince Akimoto Patchy Mix fight to me just opened so many eyes, and they're like, "Whoa, look at this, man! This is cool," because they would associate those grounded strikes with the past, right? Because it was Almighty Pride FC. It's long, it's in the past. Nobody's doing that these days, and this having a high profile international guy, that's one of the benefits of having high of international fighters, especially higher profile ones like Mix, Fight, and Ryzen, is that it gets these international attention there, and then fans will see the rule set, the superior rule set, and go, "Oh wow, this is cool." Just like you're saying, Todd, they're saying, "Man, this is pretty cool. This is how mixed martial arts should be," and like then they'll see like, "Man, there's a promotion out there that's doing this stuff still. This is cool," and that's just only one of the benefits of having international guys. Also, it'll help them with like I don't know how much stock you put in the Fight Matrix rankings, but that's pretty much the only international ranking system out there right now. And the Ryzen people love the rankings, the Fight Matrix rankings. PFL people love the Fight Matrix rankings. So, we can't just discount it because it's so biased against the UFC, but that will help. International guys will help boost their rankings and their international prestige, just like just exactly like what happened with Rising Prince Akimoto right now beating Patchy Mix. I mean, it's just, I mean, the Western fans know him now. The Western fans are aware that there's superior rule set in Rising right now, and before it was Siki Zawa and Razabazi Shadalayev was getting some love from the Combat Sports Today news. Fam, they would have their international fighter rankings, who's the best fighter outside the UFC, and those two were getting shown a lot of love on their rankings. And it's like more and more that's going to be happening now. The more international fighters they bring in to Ryzen in Japan, the more their prestige is going to go up and up. The more that they perform, the more international fans watch them, and now that they're having a one event per month, to where the Ryzen.TV subscription is totally justified in my opinion. I think more international fans are going to subscribe, and they're going to be they're when they see some of their favorite international guys going over there to Japan. I'm telling you, they're going to be hooked, brother. They're going to be hooked. From the first grounded kick knockout they see, like that will just happen with Akimoto and Patchy Mix, they're going to be hooked. They're going to be like, man, this is awesome. That is one of the benefits of international guys, and just man, I could go on about this for hours, Todd. I'm so passionate about this. I love it, and just that's why I'm just hoping for the Combate Global collaboration with the atom weights to happen, because that division is criminally underrated. It is such a great division of for girls, and it's I mean I'm so happy that Combate Global gives them a little bit of a platform here, and Invicta was doing a fantastic job of it too. But they gotta hold more events. They gotta be active. So, but it's just and the Siki Izawa is just she's on the next level. She might be UFC bound, unfortunately, or fortunately, but they're probably going to have her fight since UFC does not do atomweight division. They're probably going to have her fight at strawweight division, 115 pounds, and I'm kind of worried about that because those girls are going to be a little bit too big for her, is in my estimation. But I don't know. We'll see. Her skill set is really good, so she could pull off some interesting upsets over in the UFC. But we'll see how that goes. But I mean, if they can bring over some Combate Global fighters to RIZIN, you don't need to go to the UFC unless you wants to. So that's a big, obviously. But it's just the bringing in international fighters, which is the theme of this year, is just so key. It is so key to the growth of Japanese mixed martial arts, and I absolutely love it. And just man, I can't speak enough about it. I'm so excited about it. And I mean, can you want to go on a little bit more about the international fighters and why you like it and your theory about how
Uh,
that's what made Pride
it's
FC
not.
awesome?
It's more like, okay, if they only have Japanese athletes going against each other, one, that's not really what the fans want to see. They don't want to see their guys beating each other, knocking one guy out, by pitting them both against each other. And two, once you have, um, you don't have to have the whole card that way if you don't want to. But if you have, enough of it, a good portion of it, now you've kind of established yourself as okay, we are an international promotion. We do want to compete against UFC, ONE FC, because ONE FC has some real talented Japanese fighters right now.
Yeah,
And
but ONE
Takeru
FC
should be
is
in RIZIN. These
but they're
kickboxers should
mostly
be in
going to
RIZIN.
kickboxing.
Yeah, but well, RIZIN can have some kickboxing fights on their shows. Who
Yeah,
cares?
but no, what I'm saying is that one championship is their mixed martial arts is kind of going away. They're going more towards being a
Right.
kickboxing and Muay Thai promotion. Like Ryzen is the top dog completely with mixed martial arts. And they have, a kick fight here or there, but they're primarily a mixed martial arts organization. And one championship is kind of the opposite. They are primarily a kickboxing organization that has kickboxing and Muay Thai organization that has some like one-off mixed martial arts fights here and there, and I just want to clarify that for the fans. But
Yeah, I think I don't know why RIZIN doesn't mix some of theirs and have some kickboxing fights because Takeru would be a great draw for them. When they had tension on their cards, he was a great draw for them. You know,
yeah,
and
well,
I
they
just
have one
watched the
coming up.
other night. They had this guy. God, what was his name? Sue, I think was his name, and he just tore right through some Thai guy like nothing.
Yeah,
On
well,
the last show.
at the next Ryzen event, Ryzen Landmark 13, they're going to have a kickboxing crossover champion. They're gonna have a kickboxing fight in the cage. So they,
That
they
guy
do
who
that
fought in
every
the
once in a while.
last ONE FC event, um, the one that had it just happened, I think.
Oh gosh, I need
Is
to look it up. I
and
mean, we're live right now. I don't
he
want to
tore
cut
right
off.
through a Thai fighter that he faced. Uh,
Are you
and
talking about
I was
Nori? Was it Nori? Masaka Nori?
no, it was a
Oh,
different guy. Let me
oh.
see if I can look him up. But
No, but I know what you're saying. They're Japanese kickboxers doing really
he was
great.
a Kyoshin champion.
Oh, okay.
But I was trying to remember his name.
You know
But
what? That since that rhymes with I wanted to bring up another thing about Ryzen that I really am liking is that they have a developmental league, they do a developmental like tournament league type of a deal where they have like young guns that are in their teens that fight in this tournament to earn a spot on a big Rising card. It's called their Koshian tournaments, Koshien, Koshian tournaments, and that is to discover the next up and comers for Rising in Japanese mixed martial arts. And I really love how they have a little developmental league and they also have all these other regional leagues like Deep and Gladiator and all these other Japanese regional leagues that can feed them good fighters and up and come and but the Koshien tournament feeds them like really good young gun up and coming fighters. And Kabate Global actually is doing the same thing. They got this a guy that they partner with does this company called Fools Gone Wild, and he's going to have a developmental league for here over here in LA, which does amateur fights of young guns coming up. And I'm gonna say, hey, why don't you cultivate some atom weights as well? And we can get some more atom weights into this, you know, and we can send them over to Horizon or have the Horizon guys come over and fight. I just love that they're doing these developmental leagues, and I think that's a very, very wise decision. And it just, man, well, you know, I'm sorry, I don't want to keep going on cutting you off, Todd.
No, no, it's fine. I mean, it's you can tell you have a passion for it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of why I wanted to have you do the series,
Okay.
because you can really focus a lot on Ryzen and kind of educate fans that aren't maybe not following it as heavily.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Todd. I really appreciate that, brother. And don't sell yourself short. You also have, dude, you were actually attending
Yeah.
Almighty Pride FC events, okay? So, you have some pretty good knowledge too here. Just
Yeah,
want to
but I
point that out
haven't
there.
been able to follow it as much as I used to, maybe because I don't stay up as late as I used to in my old age. But
Oh, you know
you
what?
remember when we were younger, we would stay up till 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah, no problem. And nowadays, you know what's great about Ryzen and the Badass Black Combat, the awesome King K1 champ of kickboxing, as I call them. If you get their pay-per-views, they have replay features that are immediately available, and that's what Epic Ryzen Fighting Federation on their Ryzen.tv is. If you buy the individual pay-per-view or if you subscribe to them, which is what I recommend doing, the replay is immediately available to you to where if you can try to stay up as late as you can, but
Yeah,
if you fall asleep, you don't have to worry about it. You
right.
can wake up the next day, press play, and right where you left off, and it's freaking awesome. So,
A
we
lot of
don't have
times
to.
I watch the UFC events the next day. A
Oh,
lot
do
of
you?
times I don't watch them that night because when you're kind of tired, you're not as focused on what you're seeing, you know, and kind of I can start from the high events, like fast forward and then kind of go back if I want to see some of the prelims, because they've already got them cut up by then. In the morning, you can watch individual fights rather than the whole thing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes, you can go and kind of watch the main fights first, which is what I prefer to do. And then I might look through the results to see if there's anything interesting that happened outside of that. But that's usually what I do.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, I think. Like, well, for UFC that works because, like you're saying, it's like cookie cutter. So it's like, you don't need to see the whole event. But with Ryzen, dude, you got the opening ceremonies, you got the fighters, they do elaborate walkouts with the fighters. I mean, the opening ceremonies, you got pyrotechnics and,
Yeah.
and just, all this kinds of pageantry. You don't want to miss that stuff. So it's good to be able to go back and have the whole event replay. But for UFC, I understand where it's easy just to watch, individual fights, and then you can skip the ones that are boring, so you don't got to sit through those. But in Ryzen, you don't even get that, man. I'm trying to sit here and think of the last time there was a really boring fight in Ryzen. I can't even think of it. I mean, every fight has been really exciting. Even their decisions are exciting because of Superior Rule Set. Usually now you get some Superior Rule Set, some at least some grounded knees in almost every single bout, and it just adds like this how do I put it, like a tension to the air, like a an extra layer of excitement to the fights where it's like, you know there, there's none of that where you get when you're watching the UFC, to where you see them in like with their knees are down, their hands are down, and you have to deal hearing the ref going, oh, he's grounded, and then it's like a pause in the action. There's none of that in Ryzen. It's like every time they get to a spot where it's like this in your head. You're like, oh man, he's got to get out of there. Or he's gonna get kicked in the head. You know what I mean? It's like an extra layer of excitement, extra layer of tension to each fight, and like anticipation for these superior rule set strikes, and it's
Yeah, a
just
lot of these fans these days, these newer fans that watch the UFC, they're like, we need to change the rules so these guys can't lay on them as long. No, you've already screwed the rules. The reason
I
they're
know.
laying on these guys is because you took all these offensive weapons away that they could have used. That's why you have these fights happening the way they are. You can't, you want to further punish them? I mean, what do you want them to do?
Yeah, exactly, Todd.
You know?
Exactly. 100%, man. I mean, and that's the thing when you're watching Ryzen and and a guy you can't just pull guard. Like you can't just like flop to his back and pull guard or anything like that. You can't just, like we were saying earlier, you can't just shoot sloppy takedowns when you get tired. You can't like wall install or ring corner install. You can't do that because the fighters are going to sprawl and they're going to eat ground and knees. Or if you flop down to your back or if you get knocked down, you're going to eat some grounded kicks. You're going to eat a flying
But the
stomp.
fighters don't need to stall because they have these weapons they can use. The reason you
Exactly.
see a lot of stalling in the UFC, as they call it, is because the UFC screwed the rules up. I don't, I don't begrudge the wrestlers for doing what they're doing. You took all their weapons away. What do you want to do?
Absolutely.
What do you want them to do? Stand up and fight? Is that what you want them to stop wrestling? Is that what you want?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
You want
let's just
ultimate
take that
kickboxing?
away now. We already took away all your finishing weapons. So let's just take the whole technique away.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, what do you want them to do? It's ridiculous. If the UFC and it baffles my mind. I guess it's just because of the way things are. They can't make these changes. They changed the elbows. Why can't they add the knees to the ground?
A hundred.
What's the
I'm
problem? What's the
a
problem?
100%, Todd. 100%. That is what makes the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation so cool, is the superior rule set and the grounded strikes. But there is some hope because, like you just said, they did change the rule for the 12-6 elbows and one championship for as much shit as we give them online about some stuff that they're doing. They did get grounded knees legalized in 2 states so far. Colorado and Georgia. They held their Colorado event. They had some grounded knees on there, and also they had an event planned for Georgia, but they had to cancel for some reason. But still, the rule set was approved in Georgia. So that's 2 states where grounded knees are legal in America already. So I mean, it's gonna happen in the future. It's got to. And I'm gonna see because I love going to the Combate Global events because it's right here close in LA, and I'm gonna say, hey, could you see about maybe trying to push these California Commission people to say, hey, grounded knees are legal in 2 states already, Colorado and Georgia, and one champion they're done all the time overseas. There's no I don't know what they're worried about. What were they worried about with 12-6 elbows? That was gonna like seriously injure guys or something or kill guys or whatever. None of that is happening with grounded knees. And why don't we why don't you do like a little test why don't we run a little test show because the Combate Global events are only like 5 events at a time. What if for the next, what when they do a Combate Global versus Japan event? What if and they bring over some Ryzen fighters? What if we ask the commission, say, hey, can we at least allow grounded knees? Like they've done in Colorado, like they've done in Georgia. Can we at least try that out here just for this one event, see how it goes? And they've done studies. There's actual studies that are out. Oh man, I gotta bring that up. But what's his name? The guy on Twitter that does the combat sports law. I want to say his last name is something like McGracken or something. It starts with an M.
No,
But anyways,
McGracken. Eric.
Eric, thank you. Yes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, he posted that there was a study that was done recently. This was several months ago but there was a study specifically done on grounded knees where they were not any more, they were found to be not any more dangerous than any kind of like other, like a high kick or like like a jumping flying knee. That those they did not find that the grounded kicks pose any kind of more of a significant threat to, or danger or whatever than those type of strikes did. There was no indication that the grounded knee caused any kind of more damage, was any more dangerous. It was a fantastic study done. And it's like an actual, I forget the institute that did it, but it was it wasn't just some like random person on the internet. It was an actual institute that did this study, a sports medicine, sports science institute that did this study on grounded knees, and they came to the conclusion that they were not like they're illegal for no reason because there's no, just like the 12-6 elbows. Now that they're legal, people are like sitting there going, dude, why the heck were these 12-6 elbows ever illegal? What is it? What were you even doing? And that's the same way it's going to be with grounded knees. And what I want to do is I want to take those. I have them saved in my phone. I have, of course, I got them. I got a bookmarked. I got it saved. I just don't want to take time while we're live on air to bring it up here. But I'm going to take those studies and I'm like, hey, it's already been legalized in Colorado, Georgia. We're having some international fighters come over here from RIZIN where that rule set is already legal. It's been legal for, well over a decade now. And check out this study from an actual sports science institute that says they're not any more dangerous. How about we just try it out for this event? Maybe even say, hey, how about we just try it out for one fight where the RIZIN fighter is fighting in with the Combate Global person? How about we try that out and see? Just like a little test run or something. Just something like that to get the commission just to open up, to expand their horizons a little bit and see. I mean, but you know what, Todd? At the same time, it could be, some how do I put this? Like, ulterior motive, like some politics underneath it to where, maybe like you remember how when Almighty Pride FC went to Las Vegas for those two shows towards the end there, and they were not allowed to do their superior rule set. They had to do the pussified UFC rule set, the unified rules, and
Yeah.
that was because Pride was encroaching on, that was basically seen as UFC's territory, right? So I guarantee you behind the scenes, the UFC was telling the commissions, hey, whatever happens, do not allow them to do their superior rule set over here, and force them to, you know what I mean? So I'm just wondering, could there be something like that at play here in California as well? So, I mean, I don't know, but what's promising though? Is that I already did talk to the commission guy once because Combate Global does Campbell McLaren, the original co-creator of UFC, he does a kind of a one night tournament deal with Combate Global called Copa Combate,
Yeah,
but he
Campbell.
has to. I love Campbell. He's awesome. He has
You
to
like
finish.
him? He's kind of the thing I don't like about him is, he always tries to say he is the UFC creator, which is not true, and that's what he got so mad at me on
Oh, he
Twitter for.
is though. He
That's why,
is the
no,
co-creator.
no, 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 no. Art Davie and Orion Gracie created the UFC. He had nothing to do with it. He was
He was
somebody who helped
involved
them
as
get.
the first
Did he
one
help
though.
them get on pay-per-view and stuff? Yes. Was he one
Yes.
of the? Was he one of the executives at SEG that assisted in that area? Yes. Was he a creator? Absolutely not. And what
Well,
he tries to say 50 years, he'd say like every year he says 20 years ago I created the UFC. No, you did not. Stop saying that stuff. Stop it. You know,
I don't.
like
I think it's
James
fine to say
Wormy, who was
co-creator.
executive at UFC, I always talk to him about this, and he's like, I don't know why he does this stuff. I'm like, you could say you were involved. That's enough. Isn't that enough for you? You don't have to say you created. It's not true. Stop it. You
Well,
know.
he says co-creator. I don't see any problem with saying
No,
you're a co-creator.
I've seen him make tweets where he said he created the UFC, and I've always busted him on it.
Oh
And that's why
well,
he get mad at me. I'm like, no,
if
you did not. Stop saying that.
if he says create it outright, then yeah, that's wrong. But to me, I feel like he can totally say he was one of the co-creators of
No, Art
UFC.
Davie was the guy who created it. It was really him.
Yeah,
Art
but I
Davie
mean,
was like a.
But you can't
kind of like
deny
a
Campbell
carnival
was
barker, so to speak. And he's come see the gigantic midget, like the steroided out midget. That Art Davie was kind of like that. Come see
but you can't deny
the
Campbell was
elephant man
involved.
up here, and that's kind of what he did. That's what Art
But
Davie.
Campbell was intimately involved
He
with the original
was.
UFC.
He was.
So I mean, so I don't have a problem with saying co-creator. That's totally fine with me.
Yeah, he had to come to Campbell and Bob Merowitz to kind of. He didn't have a pay-per-view entity, and that that's where they kind of got involved. Yeah,
But see, but the whole point of this is that Campbell he loves the original UFC,
he does.
and he's trying to keep that flavor alive with the Copa Combate
Yeah.
at Combate Global, which is he tries to do a one night tournament, but the California Commission makes him fit it into the 25-minute time limit. So of under the pussified UFC rules called the Unified Rules, and so he has to do single round fights for the first two rounds for the quarterfinals and semifinals, and then the final is three 5-minute rounds. So it's like, I mean, it's still cool, but it could be cooler. And my conversation with the athletic commission guy at the most recent Combate Global event was I was like, hey, you guys allow kickboxing one night tournaments here and because they had the Glory Last Man Standing was the most recent big one night Grand Prix kickboxing tournament that happened in LA, and that was three full fights, and kickboxing fights are 3 3-minute rounds, so that total is 27 minutes total of fight time. That's 2 minutes over the 25-minute limit for mixed martial arts. And I was talking to the commission guy. I was like, hey, you allow kickboxing to do one night tournaments and you allow them to go over the 25-minute time limit that you put on mixed martial arts. Like, would you be open to allowing Campbell to do his Copa Combates with a similar time? Give them a couple extra minutes. That way they could do for their first opening rounds, instead of having it only be 5 minutes, maybe they could have it be like an 8-minute round. Something like that, right? And the commission guy, I kid you not, he was like, "Oh, like he seemed like he was open. He'd be open to it." And I was like, "Man." So, of course, I talked to Campbell afterwards and to the COO or the second in command at about the Global, Mike Afromowitz,
Mhm.
and you guys might
He's been
remember
around
him.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been around ever with Strike Force and just a great guy. I was talking to him about it, and he was saying that also another problem is that their TV time and the commercial time for doing one night tournaments, it's got to be,
Mhm.
So, anyways, there's just we're working on it. Let's put it that way.
The
But
infamous UFC, I think it was 33, where they went over. They gambled on the fights were going to end, where they were going to have some KOs. Every single fight went the distance, and they went over.
yeah,
You
you're
know,
on UFC 3, right? UFC 3
no,
where
33.
33. Oh, okay.
33. It had several title fights. All of them went the distance, and they went over their allotted time. And it was a disaster.
But same thing happened with I thought something happened with one of the original UFCs, like it was like 3 or 4 or something, where it went on. That was before they even had a time limit.
Mhm.
So it went so long that the last fight got cut off. Or I think it was Dan Severn
Yeah, UFC
that
4 in
won.
Tulsa.
Oh, well, it was UFC. Okay,
Yeah, it
so
was
it
in
was 4.
Tulsa.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's right around when I first started watching. Like I first started watching UFC. I was not one of the I did not start from UFC 1. I started in 94, and because I had discovered it with my dad. Remember when those video rental stores were still a thing and Blockbuster was alive and
Yeah,
stuff like that?
absolutely. That's the only
And
place you
that's
could get it.
exactly that's
Yeah.
how I discovered UFC. And I saw UFC 1. I think it was either UFC. I don't know if it was UFC 4 or 5. That was I can't remember exactly, but right around there was my first pay-per-view. And I remember that the UFC 4, how it cut off early, but on the video it had the whole thing. So we had to watch the video to see the whole thing with Dan Severn at the end winning it, and then they had that fixed afterwards. So that never happened again. So, but I guess it happened at UFC 33. So, but Yeah, but anyways, the whole point of this is that I'm really trying to bring back that one night Grand Prix, and I love how Campbell and Kopuk and the Kabate Global and Mike Afromowitz they're dedicated to it. They're not going to give up on it. And the point I was trying to get to, I know I'm going on forever, but the point I was trying to get to with the commission guy being open to possibly expanding the minutes and stuff is, what if we expand that and say, hey, since you are open a little bit to expanding the minutes a little bit for, because since you do that for kickboxing, how about since the grounded knees are legal in Colorado and Georgia and stuff, how about if they bring over some Japanese fighters and it's legal over there? Nothing's check out this study on grounded knees. Why don't we try it out? Give it a little test run, maybe even just for one fight. And I think maybe it could possibly happen. I'm definitely going to see next time I go to Kabate Global. Oh man, you bet I'm going to bring that up. And then I also bring it to talk about this tournament so much. I touched on a little bit towards the beginning of the show, was that the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation in Japan, their Grand Prix format is what I like to call the superior format. And the real superior format is the King K1 kickboxing, which is the real deal Holyfield 8-man one night Grand Prix, which is 3 full fights in one night and just absolutely sensational. I love it. But the RIZIN Fighting Federation for mixed martial arts, their Grand Prix format follows the same as the Almighty Pride FC format was, and which is it has the opening rounds and the quarterfinals, and then the semifinals and finals are on the same night. So it's 2 fights in one night for the finals. And also, I was gonna because we talked to some of the RIZIN staff, is some of them are in the RIZIN FF fans Discord server, and I was trying to get them to send it in and say, hey, if you guys don't like doing the semifinals and finals on the same night, how about like the 2005 Almighty Pride FC Lightweight Grand Prix, where they had the quarterfinals and semifinals on the same night, and then they had the final at a later date. So it just, as long as you get the part where part of the tournament is a one night Grand Prix, like more than one fight in the same night, that's what makes it cool. The superior rule set and your superior form with the Grand Prix is what makes the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation so cool. And that's why I wanted to bring up the Combate Global with, not only for the atom weights, but also they're trying to keep the one night Grand Prix flavor alive from the original UFC. And there's nothing scheduled so far that we know about for RIZIN Fighting Federation this year, but they did seem like they're open to it, and the rumors are that we might be getting a lightweight Grand Prix this year. They had them last year, but there was no one night Grand Prix final. So I don't know if they're trying to move away from that, or if they're trying to, if they're just saving it for a different division. I don't know how that's going, but I'm hoping that they're going to bring back the original one night Grand Prix final style, because they were doing that before for all their Grand Prix. It's just most recently had they been switching to individual fights for each leg of the Grand Prix. And I hope that they go back to the way it was, because it's so much better. It's so cool. And then also another change that was made I want to bring up real quick before I don't know, how long do we have, Todd, on this? Is it we've been going for quite a
Yeah,
is it
just we'll keep going. No
okay,
worries.
I don't want to go too much. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
so appreciative of the show, brother. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
don't
So,
worry. There's going to be more to come, so don't worry
okay.
about that.
But another big change that just happened this year is with the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation scoring system. Now, before they were doing a scoring system where it was exactly like the Almighty Pride FC, where they would take they would score the fight as a whole. Okay, it was not round by round 10-point must system. It was as a whole. And even when the RIZIN was doing, like, the Almighty Pride FC, of course, was the 10-minute first rounds and then the two 5-minute rounds after that, right? And so it totally just fit with that model. And now RIZIN was going to where they moved to where it was 3 5-minute rounds, just like UFC, and but they were still scoring it as a whole. And I guess it was leading to some confusion with fans, where saying, "Hey, how come it seemed like some fighters were winning 2 rounds out of the three, But even though the other fighter had the most dominant round of the fight, they were still winning when the other fighter that won two out of the three rounds was not getting the decision. So I'm guessing that is what had to do with them. They have since switched their scoring criteria now to a brand new scoring criteria where it combines the round by round scoring and the scored as a whole. Which let me just explain it real quick to you guys. It's like similar to the 10-point must system for round by round to where, but it's with what they call the 3D. For they score it by damage, dominance or domination, and duration, like the amount of time that they're spent the dominating or outstriking the guy, and that's how they determine who wins the round. So it's technically a 10-point must, but it's not exactly a 10-point must system, but it is round by round. And then if it's so close after the three rounds to where it's going to be a draw or it could go either way or a split, then they go to score they look at the bout as a whole. And whoever had the best overall bout, that is declared the winner instead of a draw. So that is a brief explanation of how they've changed their scoring system this year. So it is no longer as completely as a whole. It is now round by round unless it go and scored by the three Ds, like I was telling you, where they emphasize damage, dominance, and duration. And then if they're at the end of the three rounds, if it's like a tie or very close to a tie, then they go back and they look at the fight as a whole, and whoever had the best overall fight as a whole, that is declared the winner. And that's what RIZIN now calls the dual must system. So instead of 10-point must system, it's dual must system, and that's what it is. It's round by round, and then as a whole to break a tie. That's
Yeah, yeah,
so
it's
that's
good.
this.
Yeah, good adjustments. They're willing to adjust still, and
I agree
you know,
100%. I mean, we've only seen it for one event so far, but it seems like it's for there's only two decisions on RIZIN 52. So we only got to see it, we only got to see it twice so far. So I guess the jury is still out on how it is, but for those two decisions that we saw, I mean, it got the decisions right on my scorecard. So it's like, but we have not seen it to where it's been such a close fight to where like it was obvious who won those decisions, in my opinion. So it wasn't like, we didn't get to see the part of how it would be like if there was like a tie going to happen to where they would implement the dual must part to where they would score it as a whole to determine the winner of when it's a super close fight. So we have yet to see that to really see how this new system works completely. But so far, I mean, it's so far so good with the round by round system. So it's I mean, I don't have a problem with it. But actually, at the same time, though, I did love the fight scored as a whole before. I did like that, because I loved it from Almighty Pride FC, and you know, I I loved how that really it discouraged fighters from just grappling the whole time and just trying to go for like the takedown to hold him on the ground and do little pitter pat, body head just to not get stood up. It discouraged that because a fighter could do that for most of the fight, but then if the other fighter was able to reverse them and have a sensational flurry that rocks the fighter that was trying to grapple and maybe cause some damage, cause them to bleed or whatever, then even though that fighter won the majority of the fight, under the unified rules of just control or whatever or generalship, whatever you want to call it, they would lose the fight because they would award it to the fighter that had the more spectacular sequence and had the near finish and had the more action. And I liked that better, but again, this is a brand new scoring change that just done this year where now they're going around by round to where if it's close tie, then they'll do the whole fight as a whole. So I want to give it a chance to see. I was not disappointed so far at RIZIN 52. I thought they got the decisions right, but I just want to see how it's going to be when there's a close fight that could be a draw to where they're going to implement to where they're going to go see sport as a whole again to see how the true dual must system actually works. So I don't want to say the jury's still out, but I guess it kind of is. But it's pretty interesting. That is a major. The reason I'm going on about that so long right now is because that is a major change that has happened this year, and because it had just happened with RIZIN 52. That was the first event that was changed to round by round scoring. And from what I've seen online, the fans they seem to like it. So I mean, I guess I'm in the minority of liking the old school way, but that's the old school way is not gone completely because if it ends up in a tie or possibly a draw, they're going to use the old school way to determine a winner. So, I still kind of get to keep that, a little bit of the piece of the old school alive with that. So, but yeah, that's just a major change that I wanted to bring up on your show for this year, and I think the fans are going to like it. I think from what I saw, I feel like you know, because that's what people get so mad in the UFC. When there's a split decision or like a decision robbery, right? It's like that just irks fans to no end. And now for Ryzen, when it comes to that where it's going to be a split decision or a draw, then they can go to the fight as a whole to determine a winner. So there is no more draws or anything like So it's like it's I think it's gonna be really cool in the future. So I just can't wait to see how this year's gonna bring. I mean, Todd, do you want to talk about anything else you want to talk about the next event coming up, possibly, or possibly what we think might be happening with the future? I mean, because Ryzen has announced they've announced the next four events. So what do you want to talk about next, brother?
Maybe just talk about the next event, and then you can kind of let people know where they can find you as far as what you're doing.
Okay. So you want to wrap up the show a little bit with the next events preview a
Yeah.
little bit? Okay. So the next event is April 12th. That's Ryzen Landmark 13. That's their Cage Series event. And then that's going to be headlined by Shadalayev, the steamroller Shadalayev. They're arguably the best fighter outside the UFC right now. He's a featherweight champion, and just he's actually amazing fighter. And also it's co-headlined by Danny Sabatello, who is the current Rising Bantamweight champion, and he's in a very tough fight as well. He possibly could lose this one. So, you guys, it's and the card is loaded with good fights, man. I'm talking international fighters you guys probably don't know, but I'm really looking like Kolesnik is fighting. He was a former title challenger, and just I mean, so many good. Guys know Patricio Pitbull, that's in the UFC right now. His brother is fighting on this card as well, and just I mean, there's so many good international fighters. It's just and Patricky has had he's already been fought in Rise before, and he's had a fantastic grounded kick, soccer kick knockout already. So he knows the assignment. So we're gonna hopefully see some superior rule set action from him for sure on the card. But I mean, I just love how it's loaded with international talent, and it's gonna be in the cage, and it's got two title fights on it, and like we were talking about earlier. It's also got a kickboxing bout on it as well. And I know that that's in their plans for the future. Is that because in Almighty Pride FC days, the biggest show ever was Dynamite, the original that has the record for attendance, which is
I was there.
92,000 fans.
I
Todd
went
was
there.
there.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, he
That was
knows.
the first year I was there. It was 2002 summer.
Really?
The reason it was that big is because the World Cup was there at that time. So Japan was kind of playing off of that because was doing well in the World Cup. They had beaten Russia and I want to say it was Turkey, perhaps. But just the spirit of the World Cup being there, and then they kind of played off of that, by having it in a soccer stadium and you know uh, calling it a World Cup, like a Koktogi World Cup. So it just all kind of came. The timing of it was all perfect for that to happen the way it did.
Yeah, and Sakakibara-san, the CEO of Ryzen, he wants to recapture that magic, that dynamite magic, as I like to call it. And they also that was a combined, as you know, Todd, it was a combined show between
Hmm.
King K1 and Almighty Pride FC. And it just was it was the biggest event ever for mixed martial arts, for combat sports. 92,000 fans in attendance, and just it was sensational. And Tucker Carlson wants to capture that magic, so he's not. That's why there's going to be a kickboxing bout on this Rising Landmark card coming up on April 12th, because he has not given up on kickboxing. And I'm guarantee you guys with King K1 having a resurgence year now, or a rebirth that's happening right now, I guarantee you when they get bigger, and right now, the Rizin's main arena, the Saitama Super Arena, is undergoing renovations right now. So that's why they're going out on the road, and they're going to have World Series events this year, and like more than usual. And but next year is when that Saitama Super Arena reopens, and it's going to have, I think the max capacity for it right now is like 50,000 something fans. I think after the renovation is going to be closer to where they can beat the record of 92,000 fans. So maybe, I don't know how much bigger they're going to expand it or if they're just going to update it or whatever. But anyways, the point is that when they reopen that massive arena, I can, and King K1 has had this whole year to for resurgence and a comeback year for them. And then, when they get bigger, I can really see them going for a dynamite revival event in the next coming years. If not next year, a couple years after that. So, but anyways, to get back to what I was talking about, because they have a kickboxing bout on this Rising Landmark 13 event with the kickboxing crossover champion. So, that's one of kickoff bouts for this Rising Landmark 13. But the card is just loaded with international talent, headlined by two title fights. Man, it's going to be and it's in a cage. It's their cage series event. And then after that's on April 12th on RIZIN.TV. After that, they have a back to the ring for a numbered event, RIZIN 53 in the ring, and that is going to be I think it's May 10th. Anyways, it's in May, and then after that on that May event, after that they're going to have two back-to-back Landmark Series events in the cage in June and July. And that is going to be leading up to their big Super Rising event in the summer. And that's going to be either in late July or early August. And that is where they take their biggest stars. I'm guessing personally, if Mikuru Asakura is not available yet because he got beat up pretty bad by the Steamroller Shadalaev on New Year's Eve. If Mikuru Asakura, their biggest superstar, is not ready to come back by the summertime this year for Super Rising 5, I'm guessing that they're going to go ahead with that. That's why they were hyping it up already with Ren Hiramoto, the current last man standing champion, versus the brand new superstar, Rising Prince Akimoto, Kiyomo Akimoto, that just had a sensational knockout of Apache Mix. And I believe that would be the headliner for Super Rising 5 this summer. And because that's would be massive in Japan. And
Yeah.
that'll be in August. So the next one is, like I was telling you guys, and Sakakibara-san said, we're going to have an event every single month. So get that subscription at RIZIN.TV. And the next one's going to be April 12th, Landmark 13. You guys aren't going to want to miss it. I'm anticipating a lot of Superior Ruleset action. And just that, remember, that's what makes the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation so cool. And, Todd, I can't thank you enough for having me on here, brother. Just to do a little quick outro real quick for the fans. Is there anything else you want to add, by the way, before we do the outro?
No. Just let them know where to find you. This is your
Okay.
first episode of the series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I apologize if I was ranting too long on stuff. I mean, we didn't really have like a set. This like Todd was saying, this is the first show of this series, and we're just we're doing it on the fly basically. Just want to talk to you fans about the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation that we love so much. And I kind of went into others like Combate Global and stuff, but that was just because the Adam Waits and the One Night Grand Prix and stuff. But in the future, the point is that we're going to have a more structured show for you guys. Really appreciate you tuning in and listening to us. And Todd, I can't thank you enough, brother. This is where you can find me, right here on the RIZIN Report with Todd Atkins and Jay Wolf. That's where you can
Yeah,
find me.
and you
Right
can
here.
find him on Twitter.
Oh yeah, and
Oh
on
yeah.
Twitter, of course, at J. My name is misspelled. It's JAYYOLF1. Yes, it's misspelled on purpose because way back in the day when I first started commentating, back in like the Yahoo boards, Yahoo message boards, the public boards, there was a million other J Wolves, and I didn't want to be J Wolf, a million different numbers. So, so I just was like, you know what? So I'm just gonna misspell it.
986.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I just misspelled it, and but you know what? It kind of turns out to where that's kind of that like that's how fans know it's me from back in the day. It's the same J Wolf from back in the day, and it's super easy to search up. You just put J with two Y's, and I'm the only one that comes up like that. That's J Wolf, and it's like that's sort of become like my signature. And our good friend Aisha of the City Life Project, I was thinking about switching it to spelling it right, but he said no. You keep it old school. Keep it the way it is. That's how people know it's you. I'm like, okay, you got it. So that's how you can find me on Twitter at JWolf1, but it's spelled JAYYOLF1. And if you are a real person, not a bot or a crypto scammer or whatever, if you're a real person and you actually talk about mixed martial arts, I follow you back immediately. I follow back. And also, I just brought him up on the City Life Project with Aisha. That's a great podcast. We do preview shows for all the events. I'm going to try this upcoming event, RIZIN Landmark 13, on April 12th. There's also, like I was telling you before them, it's not only Epic RIZIN weekend, it's also Badass Black Combat in Korea weekend, because that's another Superior Ruleset organization. They're the night before on April 11th. So it's like that's what I was telling you guys earlier that I'm calling it the SRE rivalry weekend. So it's like it's gonna be a lot of fun. So hopefully we're gonna do a preview with Aisha on the City Life Project. And then also another good friend of the show that's been on the Japanese MMA beat with us before is Andrew Benjamin, who does the We Are Rising podcast. I mean, I'm not scheduled to be on any this year. He was trying to bring in a bunch of new guests, but I'm definitely the backup. If any guest falls through, he'll call me on there. And also, in the past, I've been on that show a bunch. I love the We Are Rising podcast show, and Drew is fantastic. And you check out his interviews and everything. And also, our good friend Jay Krish, who's also part of the Japanese MMA beat, Jay Christian Gary. He does the Focus Fights preview shows. I might be doing one with him for Landmark 13. I don't know. Also been scoring some great guests as of late. So everybody go check out Focus Fights. But that is another show that I frequent as well. So right here, the RIZIN Report with Todd Atkins, the City Life Project with Aisha, the We Are Rising podcast with Andrew, and the Focus Fights preview podcast with Jay Krish. And then also you can find me on Twitter at JAYYOLF1. And that's pretty much it, brother. I just can't thank you enough, Todd. This has been a lot of fun. I almost don't want to end. I want to keep talking. I could talk for another hour.
There'll be more to come. And as always, people check out this series. Check out Jay Wolf. There's going to be more Ryzen. I brought him back because I want to have a Ryzen focused show. The show I had before, it was like so many people. It's hard to kind of get them all together when you have 6, 7 people at once. you know, um,
But those were fun
I think
shows.
they are fun, but maybe we'll bring someone here or there. Here I have some ideas that we could do.
Oh, totally.
Um,
That'd be cool. But
yeah.
I understand the logistics of that is
Well, I
difficult to
could
have
get
multiple people.
Francisco Mode on, for example, pretty easily.
Oh, that'd
And
be
I
cool.
could do those. Yeah, and we could
Yeah,
talk to
I'd
them.
love to talk to him and be like,
Yeah,
brother, don't give up. Go try to get them to go back to
yeah,
Rising with
for
you.
sure, for sure, we'll do that. And yeah, everyone checking out the episode, we appreciate it. And as always, till next time, take care.